And so when I saw this, I thought, this isn't about content. And I had this vision that when you're at some hot springs, and in the US it would be Yellowstone National Park, you see a geyser. And it can be this incredible, we all know that geyser, does that translate, steam coming up out of the earth. And you think, this is an incredible phenomenon, this right here. But the fact is, as we now know, hundreds of years after the first geysers were seen, is that geyser is just an indication of something that is underneath the earth and is emerging all over. So I went and I gave my speech, and it was very half-baked. It was sort of a behind the reporter's notebook. And I basically just talked about these ideas I was working on, and essentially just said, I don't know what this is, but I know it's going to be really big. And so I went back to the hotel room immediately afterwards, and I called my editor, and I said, there's something going on here. It's kind of like outsourcing, except it's outsourcing to everyone. And he said, it's like outsourcing to the crowd. I said, it's crowdsourcing. And we knew that word and that the idea that we were onto something. We brought it to the other editors at Wired. They were a little leery of what this might be, because it sounded like an idea without a story yet. We didn't have a story. We had the idea. And so they gave me the green light, and I spent the next 3 months trying to find other examples that were outside of media and entertainment. And I succeeded. The article came out called The Rise of Crowdsourcing in June 2006, and it immediately struck a nerve. That word, crowdsourcing, as of, say, May 15th, 2006, there were 3 hits on Google for it, and they were all people who either worked at Wired or was sleeping with someone who worked at Wired. And within 2 weeks after it went online, there were 200,000 hits on Google, and within about 2 or 3 months, there were over 1 million hits. And it's more or less stabilized around 1 million. It's become a term that people use to sell their business proposal, that journalists have written about to identify a growing trend. What I know is not that crowdsourcing is new, but that there was something going on, that all these geysers were coming up all over the place, and no one had people had words for the geysers, but no one had a word for what was underneath it. And so that word, to a large extent, has become crowdsourcing. There's certainly other terms that start to describe it, but since I coined crowdsourcing, that's the word that I like. So I want to talk a little bit about what crowdsourcing is, and emphasize that this predated the word. One of the things I love about crowdsourcing is that this did start. It's not so much that it started with the kids, although that's often the case. It's that it started with people who wanted to do something other than make money. Not that they were against capitalism, but that they simply were trying to serve their community. This is something that emerged organically. It didn't come out of an MBA program or from a consultant's workshop, or even a single entrepreneur who thought, this is a great way to make a boatload of money. It started with people like Jacob DeHart and Jake Nickel. So the Jakes, as they're called, they're sort of an indie rock version of Laurel and Hardy. One is short and stout, and the other one is tall and skinny. Met in 2000. And they were both college dropouts, around 19, 20 years old. And they loved 2 things. They loved graphic design, and they loved T-shirts. And they met, appropriately, at an online T-shirt design competition. The idea was people submit their designs, a judge picks who's best, and that shirt goes down in history as the one that was made. It was held annually. Since they both lived in Chicago, the Jakes met up over beer and said, why is this once a year? Why not, we know how to make a website. Let's just throw up a website and have this competition all the time. And what they were trying to do wasn't make a living, wasn't avoid college. They knew a lot of other people who liked the same things that they liked, T-shirts and graphic design, and they just wanted to serve that community. So they threw up a website, and it was very bare bones. It was operated out of Jacob DeHart's bedroom, and the basic format was this. People would come, they would design T-shirts, they would submit the designs, and those designs would be posted. Now, to pick a winner, they did something that I think of as the Jake's fateful decision. Now, if this had been 5 or 10 years ago, there's no question how the Jakes would have picked a winner. They would have picked it themselves, or they would have had some celebrity designer come in and choose who the winning t-shirt was. But among the many magic tricks that the internet has performed, it's created a reversal in the way things were. It once was that centralization was easier than decentralization. That autocracy was easier than democracy. You had to work to create democracy. But the internet reversed this. It's harder to contain information. It's harder to centralize, and it's easier to decentralize. And